Clark.
My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away, to get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Lee Clark 1-0.
Williams.
My first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with it as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Williams for Sunderland.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Picked up the ball. Ron Iggy. You beauty. You Scouser Teesside beauty.
Worshipped every weekend. It's the three legends, banter and rivalry across the North East. On the Toon, the Cat, the Red.
Fellas, what a week. What a week. I mean, Sunderland get the...
What a week indeed.
Sunderland get the points again, but it looks like they're getting Ian Beale as manager. That's going to be a bit of a soap opera, isn't it?
Never a dull moment, mate. Never a dull moment.
Come on, we can't put a dampener on Daz this week. He's on fire.
He's flying, isn't he? He's flying.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, honestly, what a week it was, eh? What a week. Unbelievable. You know, going into the game, I took a point, to be quite honest, against Leeds, but wow, you know, what a great result. What a great result.
I love the messages.
Yeah, and then, like I said, I think they're trying to take us down a peg or two now, though.
Yeah. But I just love the messages you guys are swapping in the WhatsApp group that we don't talk about for this show. And it's all dodgy for England and all that sort of stuff. Fantastic.
Well, mate, I mean, let's be honest. He's done fantastic in the two games, and he probably more so the Leeds game, to be honest, because that was down to a T. You got everything spot on. And we all know what Leeds are like. They're a great side, but we seem to nullify them quite a lot. And I was a little bit disappointed, to be quite honest, with Leeds, but. All credit to Doddsy. He's gone about his job this time. Obviously, I know he was talking about last time when it was a bit of a disaster, but this time he's turned it full circle.
No,
yeah, fair play to him, Daz. I was a bit disappointed with Leeds, if I'm honest. The Leeds that played against Middlesbrough, who were attacking and exciting and caused massive problems, didn't seem to have that same energy about them. And was that down to Sunderland just playing really well and nullifying, like you say, or was it down to Leeds not being at it on the day?
I think maybe it's a bit of both, mate. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't want to give Sunderland all the credit, but I'm going to. But no, I think he got it spot on. You look at for the goal. The situation that the lads recovering, recovery runs, getting back. There was a determination in there to go and win the game. I think when we won it back in our own half, just outside 18-yard box, I believe there was about 6 or 7 players around the ball. Just chasing back to get back in, and then obviously we broke. And the football we broke on was fantastic, and then a great adjustment from Pritchard just to nod it down in Job's path, and a great finish from him. But I think he looks different. He looks different when he's up top. I think Doddsy got that spot on.
Could he be the one who scores all the goals, Daz?
I think he could
be,
mate.
Your centre
He
forward?
could be. I think he could. I think he could be, mate. He has made a difference. He does give us something different up there. He has an energy. He's quick. He's strong. And he's got an eye for goal. Let's be honest. The opportunities he's had from a deeper position in midfield. He's scored a few, and not only that, he's hit the woodwork on numerous occasions. But I think he could be. I think he could be a difference, mate. I still think. Don't get me wrong. I still think you've got to be looking in January for a striker with a decent score record behind him. But as everybody will be, in January. But yeah, I think he could be, mate. But I just like the way we play. When we break, we break with an urgency. We get forward, we get up the pitch, and we get people in dangerous areas. And 9 times out of 10, when we do break at that speed, we create a chance, an opportunity, or sometimes a goal.
Has he changed much in terms of the way the team play or the personnel, anything like that? Has he made any significant changes?
I think he's had a couple of changes around, mate. I mean, obviously, he's put Job up there. Seal had a game against Leeds, and I thought, he was brilliant. to be quite honest. I thought he was probably a little unjust, really, not to get man of the match. Because I thought he was, he's really good on the night. He's had a little change around. I mean, there's not really a lot he's been able to do, obviously. But I do think the change with Job up there, has made a difference. To be quite honest, and like I say, that with Job, you've got a little bit of everything. He's composed on the ball. He's a big lad. He's got a bit of pace about him. But like I say, he's also got that eye for goal. And I think that change against Leeds, especially, made a big difference.
Brave goal, wasn't it, Daz? Put his head in where it could have got proper clattered by the keeper, but he was determined he was going to get to it, wasn't he?
Totally, and it's not often you see that now, is it? Let's be honest. People don't want to stick their head in there, but he did, and for me, it was the adjustment of Pritchard's head, header down. Yeah. It was just because it's come at him with such pace, and I think Pritchard was still on the move at the time, so he kind of put the brakes on, but kind of took the weight of the clearance off. And it's just dropped down in a perfect position, and obviously the keepers then made a decision to kind of come and try and claim it, but obviously Job's just nipped in there and stuck his head in a place that not a lot of many strikers would now.
Dad's talking to some of the lads who were at the game. They were saying Pritchard was really good, almost ran the game.
Pritchard he's probably one of my favourites, mate. In all honesty. I like him, he's lively on the ball, he makes things tick. I think when he's on it, the tempo, the way we break, we seen the other week against West Brom, when he's picked out the pass with the outside of his foot. It's a nice weighted pass, He's very clever on the ball, but he brings a lot of energy into that middle of the park, and I think that's where a lot of the times, Sunderland we do dominate in that area because we've got the likes of Pritchard, you've got Job's been in there at times, and it's Roberts and Clark, and it's just that busy little area, and they all seem to be really lively on the ball, and I think obviously that's where we create a lot of our chances and a lot of our goals from. But when he's in there, he just seems to be able to lift that tempo.
Is that it?
Well,
We're finished.
I'm pleased for you, Daz. Well, I'm finished because
I'm not
it's
finished.
Depressing how well they've done.
We
It's
just thought Daz was just going to take on the full hour himself.
We've got absolutely nothing to say. Me and Clarky, we've
talking gardening, aren't you? And
right.
wrapping Christmas presents. Is that what this conversation is going to be? Yeah.
Since Big Tony's gone, I've got no sweets, so.
But no, Daz, listen, Daz. If they do go for Beale, and everyone's talking about it, if they do go for Beale, what is that for me? Is that a step forward? Is it them saying, "Oh, now we've got a younger manager who can develop these younger players"? But I mean, for me, I don't see any difference whatsoever. I can't. In fact, I see a little bit less, if I'm honest. A little bit less experience, a little bit less nous, a little bit less know-how. Definitely. And listen, I might be doing a disservice there to Michael Beale, but Tony, is he not the same, if not more experienced? Will he not get more out of players?
I certainly think that, Higgy. I certainly think that you're not getting an upgrade on Tony Mowbray with Beale, not for me. I think he had a terrific start at QPR, but then when he turned down that apparent approach from Wolves and then give it, I want to stay loyal to QPR, then they went on a horrific run, and then he got appointed the Rangers manager, and obviously from my time up there managing. There's nowhere to go if you're second up with there. If you're Rangers or Celtic, if you finish second, it's been a nightmare of a season for you. So, and he lost in some big games, didn't he, as well in Europe and the Old Firm games. So, he's still. I think he's a, and by all accounts I've heard, he's a brilliant coach, and he can develop, but he. Like you said, Higgy, he hasn't been a manager for a long time, His jobs haven't lasted for long times. And in comparison to Moga, who's, won things in the game as a manager, promotions or whatever, and time up at Celtic. But no, I don't think it's an upgrade at all. You know, if I just it'll be. If I was a Sunderland fan, I'd be a little bit feeling a little bit flat, to be honest with you. And that's nothing against Michael Beale, because he could turn out to be a brilliant appointment. But I just think at this moment in time, for what he's done in his 2 jobs, not.
You've got what you've got is this needs, obviously, like you said, Clarkey talented, but what you've got is a manager now who's in the same image as the team. You know, up and coming, young manager, don't really know which way it's going to go.
No.
And they're both learning on the job, if you like, you know, gaining more experience.
And the backroom team are young, Higgy. They've got a young backroom team. Yeah. You know, Michael Dodds, he's only 37. Procky, how old's Procky does?
Procky's he's just a bit younger than me, mate. So he's probably
75.
40s. Yeah, he's probably 40.
Who needs enemies?
Well, do you know, I agree, lads. I think it is a bit of a step back. Listen, I'm not taking away from, like, he might come in. You know, if he comes in, he might come in and do a fantastic job. But looking at it from the outset, I don't see how there's any difference. You know, I don't see what the difference is. You know, Tony, he had the lads playing. You know, he's got a great group of players. He had a great relationship with them. You know, as Mike Dodds does. You know, he's a great relationship with the guys. And you know, I feel a little bit disappointed if that's going to be the case. You know, but again, you know, no disrespect, I'm not taking away from him, because, you know, when a manager comes in, obviously, you know, you've got to give him the opportunity and the chance. But I agree, and I think, you know, a lot of the fans you know, are the same at this moment in time. You know, a little bit disgruntled and a little bit unhappy.
It's mad, isn't it? We're talking about change of manager, and Sunderland are the ones on the up at the minute. It's just bizarre,
it's crazy,
isn't
mate.
Well, that's another reason why you would think about just taking your time a bit, giving it a bit longer, because, you know, all joking aside, Dodsy's come in and done it, you know, settled the ship. You can imagine it's been quite tough with the young players, because they seem to have a great rapport with Tony, but with Dodsey being in there already, he seems to have settled the ship, got brilliant 6 points from those 2 games. So you're just wondering, you know, do they have to act as quickly as this? Is Beale, if he does get the job, was he the number 1 target, or had they been turned down by other potential targets or whatever? It's a tough one.
I think there's been a few names bantered about, hasn't there? And apparently there's been a few, obviously, talks going on. But yeah, you know, it's a strange one, mate, where it's come from, Clark, to be quite honest, because it's kind of, you know, like you say, you look at his past and, you know, his history and that, and, you know, is it right? I don't feel it is, but like I say, you know, we're not gonna judge somebody until, you know, they've had obviously a bite of the apple.
Well, he was asked that in his press conference, wasn't he, Dodsey? He was asked what he's changed, what's different to when Tony Mowbray was there. Should we have a listen to his response?
Okay.
Yeah. Here he goes.
Yeah.
A little bit of luck. As I keep saying, the dressing room's a really, really good dressing room. And, you know, fortunately from my perspective, they've brought into some of the tweaks and changes that we've changed in the process leading up to games. But yeah, good players and a little bit of luck.
He's putting it down to luck, fellas. There must be more to it than luck, simply because you don't go out and do West Brom and Leeds.
Nah,
Dave, there's no saying that Tony wouldn't have done that.
Exactly, yeah.
There's no saying Tony wouldn't have done that. Tony's changed the club around and got them playing like they have, and they've got this model now that he bought into. Tony was like a father figure, I think, to the kids. I think they looked up to him, like Clarkey said. He improved them. He made it exciting for fans to go and watch football. And sometimes, you know, he's had them on the verge of the playoffs from last season to now. So I don't think there's anything changed. I just think it's one of them. You know, Middlesbrough are going through it now. Newcastle are going through it, where you have a blip every now and again in the season. And that's Sunderland's blip, probably. You know, who's to say they wouldn't? Because they're more than capable of getting 2 results against the West Brom and the Leeds. Although, you know, they are great results, don't get me wrong. But what's to say that Tony wouldn't have done that anyway?
This is the thing. I said exactly the same as you, Higgy. You know, I don't feel that, you know, I'm pleased that Dodgy's coming in and done well, and he's got 2 games under his belt. But then to kind of like overlook him, but think I was the same. Tony probably would have got those results. Do you know what I mean? I don't see the difference. Do you know, it's a strange one, and it's a strange way to go about it. But it's let's see what happens in it. There's never a dull moment, is there? Let's be honest.
Not with Sunderland, that's for sure. Tell you what we'll do, we'll give the contact details out. If you want to get in touch with the lads, ask a question, make your point, you can WhatsApp the studio. The number is 0330 043 2002. It is the 3 legends, Lee Clark, Darren Williams, Craig Hignett, 0330 043 2002, and the lads will be right back after this.
Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Windows, conservatories, and so much more. With high security, great quality, the company you've been searching for. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows.
Why do clients choose Ather & Co?
Very diligent, very caring, put themselves in my shoes.
Always informed me, kept me up to date of what was going on.
Didn't feel I had anything to worry about, and I had nothing to do other than turn up for a medical. Athers did the rest.
For the full story, see athers.co.uk/reviews.
Choose the one you know, Ather & Co.
When it's full time, it's soul time. Every Saturday and Sunday, join me at 6. 2 hours of great soul music, new releases, UK soul chart hits, and memories from the past. We'll have them all. All I need is you to join me, Mike Pryor, in the Soul Cellar for the kickoff at 6.
It's the 3 legends. Across the Northeast, Clark, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. Banter at its best. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the Northeast, the Toon, the Cat and the Red.
Higgy, I think it's your turn, mate. Boro. Crest of a slump at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, since that 4-0 win at Preston, and everything was looking up, and you think, yes, get in, scored a few goals, they'll go on a little run again. That was after the Bristol City defeat. But then they played Leeds, got beat 3-2. Ipswich came to town. I was at the game, and Ipswich really impressed me. I was interested to see Ipswich because I haven't seen them live this season. Wanted to see them. Boro and Ipswich played a similar type of football, which you'd expect, possession based. They pass it around the back a little bit till someone steps out, and then they'll play through the thirds and try and get at you. Ipswich were much better at it than Middlesbrough were. They had better players. They just had more quality all round, and it was a comfortable win, really comfortable 2-0. I mean, don't get me wrong, Middlesbrough had some injury problems and didn't play well on the day. They were a little bit slow and laboured, but it was just disappointing, just a really disappointing game. And to see how comfortable it was for Ipswich, it was a bit of an eye-opener. So for me, I think we need the best players fit to be able to compete with the Ipswiches, Leicesters. If they have, they've got half a chance. But then you think, they've got another home game against Hull, who were doing well themselves. Rossini's doing a decent job up there. But again, it was lacklustre. And it wasn't for the want of effort. There was just no pace in the game. Boro still had chances, don't get me wrong. But their finishing was really poor. And that's the difference. 2 boxers, they couldn't defend in their own box, and they couldn't put the chances away in the opposition's box. And that's been the story, really. Lati Lather coming in, he scored 3 in the last 3. Looks like he's got a goal in him, but not like... Listen, he hasn't got a great touch, but he runs about. He's quick. He makes a nuisance of himself. But you wouldn't say he's real quality. But looked like a nuisance. That's what he is. He's a nuisance who's got a little bit of back, but looks like he could score a few goals. But apart from that, Dave, I was really disappointed with Boro. And then obviously Swansea tomorrow. They've conceded 3 in the last 3 away games. So they need to tighten up, they need to stay in games, and they need to start putting the chances, because they are creating chances, but they need to start putting them away. The finishing in recent games has been really poor. So tomorrow, for me, it's a let's get solid again, let's have a little reset, let's make sure that we're not easy to play against. And then when we do get the ball and we are breaking, let's go at pace and start putting some balls in the box, because they have some good stuff, get it round the edges of people, and when they've got a real chance, a proper chance, unopposed to cross the ball, they don't. They sort of stop and then come back, and the ball ends up getting thrown in by a right back who's halfway in their own half. And I look at it and think, well, what's the point in that? Get it in there when people are backpedaling towards their own goal. You've got strikers running in, but they don't. They're quite reluctant to do it, and they're almost trying to score the perfect goal. So I hope tomorrow they just become really solid, organised, because they are always organised. They know what they're doing. There is a way of playing, but if they're missing the best players and missing that extra little bit of quality, then I think it shows massively. And where they are now is probably where their performances deserve them to be, if I'm honest, over the last, I think it's 1 win in 5 games they've got. So things need to change, and hopefully they'll get 3 points tomorrow.
It's a tough place to go, isn't it?
Easy, wasn't it?
Tough place to go.
Well, it is a tough place, but they've got problems as well, Daz, haven't they? So Swansea are having their own problems. They're looking for their own manager. They've recognised someone and approached them, and I think now they're talking to Spurs. It won't happen in time for tomorrow, so they're still without a manager. For me, it's all about first goals in the Championship, and if you go away from home and you're tough to play against and you score the first goal, I think it makes the game a little bit easier. But the way Boro have defended, particularly away from home, it'll give the other teams a bit of confidence, saying, well, look, even if we go goal down, this is what they've done in the last 3 games. There's no reason why we can't go and do that as well, because we all know on any given day, anyone can beat anyone in that league. And it's such a tight league, and the margins are really small, aren't they? So I just hope that the reset, they're tough to play against, they don't give any stupid goals away, and like I say, they will cause problems in the game, and they will create chances. I just hope that they put them away when they get them.
Simon from Redcar has WhatsApped the studio, and he said, we look a million miles from being a promotion playoff team. Do you still believe Boro can make the top 6?
If I was to say now, I'd say no. I don't think they will. I think, like I say, they need the players fit, and they've got a massive injury list, and that hasn't helped. Michael won't say it, but it has. It's had a big influence on what's happened recently. But you can't go making those excuses. They've got a squad, and they've got players there who are more than capable, but their injuries have been really bad. There's almost an 11 who would play on the sidelines, and the sooner they can get them back, I just hope for December they stay in touch, they get a couple of results from somewhere, stay in touch. Come January, they've got more players coming back from injury, and they might go out and look to try and strengthen it. They need a centre forward. They need a proper centre forward who'll score goals. Everyone does, though, so everyone's looking for the same thing. Whether they'll get it or not, I don't know. Josh Coburn was out injured last game, wasn't involved. Like I say, Lati Lath has been scoring recently, which has been good, but they haven't been getting results from the goals. I think December for me is when you want your squad, and you want most of your squad fit. So you've got half a chance of getting through, because there's so many games. You want half a chance of getting there into January. Transfer window opens, few people come back, and you're still in with a shout. That's what I hope. Whether it'll happen or not, I don't know. It's because the way they're playing at the moment, it almost looks like they've lost a bit of confidence.
I think that's a good point, Iggy. I think the 6 points out the playoffs at the minute, they can't allow that gap to get any bigger. They've got to stay in touch with those clubs, even trying to reduce it. But it certainly cannot get any bigger than that going into the new year. They've got to they've got to start picking up some positive results. Like you say, they've got to go back to basics in their next game. Stop conceding, the disappointing goals that you're saying, and get back on track and start getting some positive results. Whether that you take a point away from home, then win your home games. But they can't afford to be slipping any further behind the playoffs than they are now.
No, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Hull goal, Delap's goal from the corner. Where it's whipped into the near post. Hull get there first. Delap just runs from the middle of the goal to the back post. No one goes with him. Totally free. Easiest header you'll get. And it's things like that cost you. Set pieces. You should know what you're doing at set pieces. Everyone should be set. This is my job. This is what I've got to do. But time and again they've been done by things like that. Not great bits of play, but sloppy little bits of play. And every now and again, Bristol City scored a worldie against them, and people like that. I think Ipswich scored a decent goal against them, but there's too many that are avoidable. That they can't. You can't concede. If you've got half a chance of winning a game, you can't concede things like that from set pieces. Not as easy as that. You've got to make it hard for people, haven't you, and do your jobs properly.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know what it's like as a coach or a manager. We've all been there. It's the most annoying thing in the world when you concede from set plays, because you usually get it thrown at you when you do from the fans. Do they ever work on it? But believe you me, we all do. We work on it for hours per week, isn't it? It is, lads. It is.
Clarky, it's embarrassing because
we've done it before as players. We've done it as coaches. Go on, mate.
At Hartlepool, we had a spell where we conceded a couple of set pieces and people had just switched off. And I spent 2 hours. We were playing Carlisle in the midweek, and I spent 2 hours on a Monday just walking through set pieces. This is your job. This is what you got to do. Didn't do anything else in training, just that. We play Carlisle on a Wednesday night, and we concede 3 set pieces.
Sure.
And you just think, what chance have you got? You're spending that much doing it.
If you're giving someone responsibility and they cannot do it, it's just mind-boggling, isn't it? And they win so many games. They win set pieces, win your Sunday morning games, they win your World Cup finals. It's massive, and we get a lot of players who don't focus enough on it. They think, oh well, it's a corner or it's a free kick or whatever. But they can be the difference between winning and losing. You could have a brilliant performance as a team, but lose the game or get a draw because you haven't switched on. You're not bright enough from a set play.
They're the things that frustrate you, like you say, as a manager. They frustrate the living daylights out of you because that's the basic stuff. That's the basic stuff that you expect people, and you do it and you work on it, but you expect them to go out and just do their job.
Yeah. No,
but people don't, for whatever reason. They'll get caught up in the game and they'll just switch off. And the minute you switch off, you'll get done. And it happens at every single level, like Clarky says.
The thing is, though, Iggy, you shouldn't switch off on a set piece, really, should you? Because that's when you should really be switched on. Do you know what I mean? If the ball's at the other end of the pitch and you're stood there as a centre half, sometimes you might have a little daydream every now and then. But when you're actually in your own penalty area and you're actually up against a man, you should not be switching off. It's crazy. It's crazy, mate.
I would, Daz, because I was an attacker. You wouldn't, because you were a defender.
I switched off when it went forward, me.
How does Michael put this right? How does he get out of it? How does a manager get out of a slump, fellas? I mean, you've got far more experience than anyone listening. How does he do it? Does he just rely on luck? Does he? I mean, what does it take?
No. It takes a little bit.
He's done it once, hasn't he?
A lot. He's done exactly. He's done it. He's done it brilliantly earlier in the season. I mean, they started so poorly, and then they came out of it. But they're having a mini slump back into it. It is a little bit of luck involved, Dave, of course. But it's just about you've got to continue the work. You've got to continue your beliefs, and then if the same players are making the same errors, you might have to change the personnel and see if there's other players prepared to do it. Sometimes, you know, you don't always pick your best 11 players. When you're in a time like this, you pick the players that you think you can trust to go away from home and help you turn the tide a little bit, stop the run of defeats. You know, sometimes you've got to look at little things like that. It's getting the right players in the right positions, and if it is set players that's costing them games, he might go with players that he might think, you know, when he's watching them on the training ground or he knows them, players that aren't particularly there might be better players in the football club in terms of technically, but these might be players he can trust for a game or two to get the losing run stopped and get them back on track.
I think it's so important as well. He gets players back as well. Players back as well. Do you know, like, it is affecting them. It is affecting them massively. You know, we've already touched on it on previous weeks. You know, with Newcastle and Middlesbrough. You know, when you have those injuries, you know, it does affect you. You know, it does affect the team. It does affect, you know, the squad. You know, if you don't have those players that you can bring in, it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think. That's the difference between the game now and when we played, lads. Especially, I mean, I know it was thinking towards the end, but if you remember, we only had like one transfer window, which was the end of March when it used to shut and you couldn't do any business. But you could sign players all the time. So if we had like mini injury crisis, you could sign a couple of players on loan, or you could bring a couple of permanents in. Now you've got that group of players up until Jan, and then from Jan you've got that group of players till the end of the season. So you get especially what Middlesbrough and Newcastle have had this season, you get a glut of injuries. Like Daz, you're spot on, it can affect you massively.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to change his principles. You know, the way he plays is the way he plays, and like I said, Ipswich were very similar with Kieran McKenna, and it's no wonder, you know, possession based, play it around the back, wait for you to make a mistake. He's not going to change the way he plays like that, so I don't expect a change in style. I think it's just a case of staying in touch and getting the lads who are going to make a difference back fit again, and then if you can add in January, then that's a bonus.
One of the interesting things this week from Carrick, and the fans have picked up on this, and there's obviously a big debate on social. When isn't there a big debate on social media? But Carrick came out after the game and said he was really pleased with the performance. And a lot of fans are saying it wasn't a good performance. Why is he saying that? And he followed up with that on the press conference as well. I mean, he said exactly the same in his pre-match press conference. Here's a quick clip from it.
Yeah, the boys are okay, you know, considering. I think positive in many ways from what I said about what we went into the game trying to do and how we feel that we've done that for the large majority of the game, and so we took a lot from that. Physically, it was a good game. It was a tough game. The boys worked really hard and gave what they had. So naturally, there's the recovery day today and freshen up ready for the weekend.
Yeah, mfc.co.uk if you want to see the full press conference. But Iggy, I mean, I don't know what your views were on the performance. I know what the fans' views were, and they were a bit different. Is Michael playing a bit of a Jose Mourinho, I'll take the rap here, keep the pressure off the players, or do you think he genuinely believes they played well?
No, I think he's taking the positives out of stuff. I think there was one or two things that they did do well against Hull. You know, there was some bits of play, creating chances that was quite good. I think you have to be careful these days that you're not hanging people out to dry. I think if you want a proper squad, you can tear a strip off people privately in the dressing room after the game, but then when you come out, you defend people, you know, and you don't ever want to throw one of your players under the bus, because these are players that he's gonna have to rely on until the other lads are getting fit again. So, you know, he doesn't want to mess them about and call them out in public. And I think he does the right thing. That the bit that I struggle with is the bit saying if we carry on playing like that, we'll be all right, because they won't be. I think if they carry on playing like that, they'll end up middle of the table. But he knows that, you know, he's been around football long enough, and I think there's a little bit of mind games there with him. I think there's a little bit of, I don't want to have a go at people because I need these people. I'm going to have to rely on these people, and in a way, his job will count on them performing for him. So he doesn't want to lose them. I think that's all it is. Sometimes you have to be careful as a manager that, you know, people paid their money, watch the games, and they see performances, they know Middlesbrough can play miles better than what they have done in the last 2 games. The tempo has been different in the last 2 games. I don't think the tempo's been there, but I don't think the quality's been there either, and that's got a lot to do with who's not playing at the moment and who's out. So there's only so much a manager can do, but the last thing you want to do is try and hoodwink anyone and say the performance was really good when it wasn't, because people have got their own eyes and they can see what's going on. But there was good things within the performance that he will take and he'll try and take to the players. Look, we need more of this. I think that's all it is, really. He never gives much away anyway, Dave, does he?
No, he
in
doesn't.
the interviews, he keeps his cards close to his chest, and that's just the way he is. I think that's a Man United thing.
I think nobody is expecting Dale Fry to come back against Ipswich. He just suddenly appeared back from injury. But he has given away a few bits today, saying Riley McGree's close, Force is close. So there's signs that a couple of players are going to be coming back soon.
Good. Well, that's his way. His way is, he doesn't say what the injury is. He doesn't say how long they're going to be out. He doesn't say when they'll be back. They're back when he picks them. And, people can ask all they want, but they're not going to get any answers at all from him. And I don't know whether it probably has been spoken about and saying, look, this is our stance now. Any injuries, we're not going to say what it is and the time frame and all that, because that can open its own can of worms. But at the same way, there has to be a happy medium where you have to give something away and say, like, he's out for a little while with an ankle, or just daft little bits. But they don't. Boro just don't do anything. Don't tell you when someone's back. Don't tell you when they're out. Very rarely tell you why they're out. I think the reason a couple of fans have found out, Lenihan, I think, put his on Instagram, didn't he?
Yeah.
As did Tommy Smith. So I don't know what the policy is with the club, whether they wanted them to do that or not. But if they're out for the season, there's no point, is there? It doesn't matter then. But they are very cards close to the chest type of answers.
Mm. So we've discussed Sunderland, we've discussed Boro, we've got to discuss Newcastle. No more European action. And I tell you what we'll do, fellas, we'll take a quick break and we'll do that next.
Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Windows, conservatories and so much more. With high security, great quality, the company you've been searching for. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows.
The important thing to remember about accidents at work is that these days the law imposes such a strong duty of care upon the employer, they're basically obliged to ensure that accidents don't happen. So if an accident does happen, it's likely, in some sense, to be their fault, even if you feel partly to blame. So if you've had an accident at work, just give us a call.
Choose the one you know at the
Sunday, late and live with Les Gunn.
What about you, Jess? Have you done fancy dress before?
Oh, good Lord, yes. When I was little, I think my mum and my sister used to think it was the most hilarious thing to put me in the most awkward costumes. I once they made me into a candle when we went carol singing, so I was wearing a full-length box, and then they made a flame for my head. The wire really hurt.
Sunday, late and live with Les Gunn. Clark, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. It's the three legends. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. We don't bite. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the northeast, by the fans, for the fans. The tune, the red and the cat.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Newcastle obviously going down during the week in Champions League action. The defeat means they're out of Europe for the rest of the season. And that's something we've got a message in. We've got a WhatsApp in, Lee, for you. Addy and Walker asking, how much of a blessing can the Champions League elimination actually be for the league campaign? What are your thoughts?
Well, initially on that, I was obviously really disappointed that we went out of Europe completely. We're not getting that third spot to get in Europa League. But then in the cold light of day, sitting back and looking at how this injury situation's derailed our season a bit, you know, or a lot, I think, yeah, it could be a blessing for the second half of the season. We've obviously got the Carabao Cup match next week in midweek against Chelsea, but I think in terms of the league programme, it will give us a better chance of picking up more points, because at the moment we're just starting to slip away. Like I was mentioning about Boro hanging on the playoffs there, we've got to try and do the same in terms of the top four. We're like 7 points adrift at the moment, and we cannot let that go. We've got to reduce it actually, but we cannot certainly let it go any further. So I think having less games in the second half of the season, yes, could be a blessing, because I'm not too sure. There's talk today that Harvey Barnes has had a setback. He may need an operation, so he's looking like it's 2024 before we see him, which is really tough news. You know, Anthony Gordon's due a fitness test for tomorrow. We're missing obviously Kieran Trippier tomorrow with suspension, 5 yellows. Yeah, but to answer the question, at first I wasn't, but in the cold light of day, when you assess things and see how it's just took the edge off our season a little bit. Yeah, I would agree with that now, definitely.
Clark, you would need Harry Potter as a physio, wouldn't you, really? The way things have gone, mate. Honestly,
that's
mate.
That's a belter, does.
It's crazy, isn't it, though, mate? Because what such bad luck with injuries, mate.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, thankfully we got Dan Burn back. I would imagine that he'd probably start him tomorrow, put Livramento, who's been outstanding, by the way. What a terrific young player he is. He could probably go in at right back. He's been playing a bit at left back, you know. So Sean Longstaff and Wilson got some more minutes under their belt. I mean, the lads played, I thought they were terrific first half against AC Milan, I really did. And well worthy of a brilliant goal by Joe Linton to be up. But then, obviously, you know, AC Milan, they're like Dortmund. They're a club that's used to playing in the Champions League season in, season out. The players understand it. They've got great experience at that level, and they become efficient. They don't panic. You never seen them panic, even though, you know, they've got, you know, Newcastle were by far and away the best team in the first half. And then they just came, and you could see them getting stronger. They got the equaliser. Then the keeper pulls off an unbelievable save from Guimaraes onto the crossbar, and then they hit the post themselves, and then they finish the game off. So that'll probably be what Eddie's taken from the game. If in the coming years we get back to that level and we're competing with those clubs again in the Champions League, you know, it's ruthless. It's because you're coming up against the elite, the very best of the best. And so yeah, it's been a tough week. I was obviously I went down to Spurs at the weekend as well. Got involved in all that travel chaos that hit the Newcastle fans with the train services all getting cancelled left, right and centre. I had to take an Uber from Grantham to London. So
ouch.
Me drinks money went down the Swanee early doors.
Did you just get a carry out from Tesco's?
I just went for the cheap LCL drink cans then. So no, I was. But you know what? It's in a strange sort of way we've had this run of defeats, but it's made us even more positive and more. Looking forward to the future under Eddie and the staff and the players, because I think they come out, you know, no one wants to lose. Of course you don't, especially, you know, we've been there, we've been managers, and it's the worst thing in the world when you lose as a manager, but it just feels like they've handled this situation unbelievably. They've give everything. We cannot say that they haven't, even in the 4-1 defeat, here was a team that was just, against Spurs, that was just flat on the floor. They had no energy. And when you're a manager who wants to play high intense, high tempo football, front football like Eddie does, if you're lacking any physical output, which we did in that game, it can hit you hard. And the bounce back first half, as I said, against Milan, and but it wasn't to be, you know. So we just got to bounce back. Got a tough one tomorrow. Fulham, they're coming off the back of 2 5-0 wins. you know, and I think Marco Silva's done a terrific job at my old club there, and that'll not be an easy one for us, but hopefully we can get the positive result and just settle everybody down again, getting ready for the festive period.
Clarkie, do you think that the way they went out the Champions League will improve them? And by saying that, I mean, do you think they'll have learnt massively from it? Because they were labelled a little bit naive, weren't they? Because they were in the UEFA spot at the time, but just kept going for it. Do you think they'll have learned from that and it'll make them a better team in the future?
I totally, Higgy. I think, and you know what? I think it's good experience for the fans as well. I think everyone's learned from the campaign to think, you know, never... Because I think what happened after we beat Paris Saint-Germain 4-1 up at Newcastle, I think everyone... We approached the Dortmund game. I sensed this as I was going to the match at St James's. Like, there was a bit of a... This is Dortmund. You know, Paris Saint-Germain are better than Dortmund, so we've just beat them 4-1. We can do these, no problem. And I think the fans took their eye off the ball a little bit in terms of didn't give the respect of a club like Dortmund, like I mentioned again, like AC Milan, who compete in Champions League every year in, year out, and the players have got so much experience at this level of football. It's a different ball game compared to the Premier League as well. And I think, obviously, Eddie always talks about that, about learning from, you know, mate, when you learn more from your players as well. If when you start, things go wrong, it's all right being getting on the ball when you're on a great run and people aren't always wanting it. It's still having that mentality and that desire and that bravery. That's football bravery. Still getting the ball when your passing's not on, but you want to still get on it, and you're on a run of not good results, and your players are still trying to do the right things. So I think it's been a brilliant experience for everyone, and it's been a massive learning experience, which I think that will help us in the future.
Is the aim now to get in the Champions League again, Clarkie, this year, finish fourth if they can?
It is, Higgy, but it's going to be a big ask, mate. It's going to be a very big ask. I know we're not even halfway through the season, but I said we're 7 points adrift. When you look, you know, Villa have entered that race now. They look a terrific side this season. You know, Tottenham had a little blip, but they have come out of that, unfortunately, against us. So they're challenging again. Liverpool have been rebuilt. So, you know, whereas the teams last year, you know, I think there's a couple more to be added to that list. So there could be, 7, 8 clubs that want to be getting those 4 positions. So it's a tough ask. We've got to sort the away form out in terms of the points return. You know, we've been poor away from home in the Premier League this year. You know, being really good at St James's. So, you know, we need to turn that around quite quickly in terms of the points accumulation we get away from home to if we are going to finish in the top 4.
Clarkie, you know, given the fact that, you know, they've got all these resources, Newcastle, and everyone's expecting them to really add to the squad as well over the summer, do you think not being in the Champions League this season will affect who will come to the club?
Oh, without a doubt, mate.
Do you think they'll lower the sights if they don't get in the top 4?
I think you have to change your targets, because like you say, I don't think you can attract elite players if you're not playing in the Champions League. I don't think the top players they want to be involved in the Champions League. That's what makes them tick. Yeah, winning that domestic league and all that, yeah, of course they do, but it's the Champions League, that's the holy grail for all these top players. And I think it is very difficult to attract them when you're not there, so you do have to have a different type of target. So yeah, the knock-on effect of not being in the Champions League has so many implications. It's not just, you're out of Europe, and it's the prestige, it's the financial, it's the type of players you can bring into the club, both from a financial viewpoint, but that's not a problem obviously for us with our new ownership, but certainly from a prestigious one, in the top players wanting to play in the major competitions.
And if they don't get top 4, does that put a bit of pressure on Eddie as well for next season, maybe, to say, well, look, you really need to get in it next season?
Listen, I understand why you go down that route, and there's been some stuff said, you know, in the media and over the last week, 10 days, and it's frustrating, because obviously me and you have been manager in the game, obviously lower down the pyramid, but it's I don't know, where do we go? Where Who's the next level of manager to take the club to the next level? I don't know. Who's the names? Because it shows you that sometimes the superstar names don't always work. You know, it's got to be the right fit, hasn't it? Look at what happened with Mourinho and Conte. I mean, Mourinho is a serial winner. Conte has won major trophies. They both couldn't get it right at Spurs. There's been other. Look at what's happening at Man United.
Yeah.
Some of the managers there spitting.
Van Gaal, isn't it? Van Gaal was
look at some of the managers they've spat out. Do you know what I mean? And I just think Eddie gets it, and I think we've just got to make sure, you know, the banner. We've got to make sure we stick by them in this little tough period. But I know where you come from, because I think these are going to be a little bit impatient. This is a test for them as well, because this is the first real time where there's been a little bit of a dodgy run since the new ownership took over, with the exception of that early part when they first took over from the October to the January, when they were working with, you know, the limited squad Mike Ashley had allowed the previous managers to assemble. But, you know, they obviously brought the lads in the January to stop them getting relegated. But since then, it's all been on an upward trajectory. So it's a little test for them. How are they prepared to hold their nerve, or how they're prepared to back the manager? And if, you know, it's an interesting one, pal. Definitely, it'd be very interesting, because I know they want to move quickly. Yeah. And I do know they want to move quickly, but us people.
Well, that's why I get the feeling.
Understand,
you know,
it's
how long
not
are
that
they going to
simple.
wait? So how long are they going to wait before they want to be that team that's in the minimum is top four every season?
Yeah. There's got to be a bit of common sense, so hasn't there? You know, looking at this season, with the injury list and everything, it's like, you know, they can't expect, you know, once the players are back, mate, you know, a lot could change. A lot could change massively.
Exactly.
You know, you don't know what type of run you can go on. Do you know what I mean? You're more than capable of going on the run. You know, with the squad all back and everyone fit. So there's no reasons why you count out. I get why you count out, because obviously, you know, teams are picked up and, you know, you're so many points adrift. But there's no reason why things can't turn, mate, and situations can't turn. And, you know, I think they'd be crazy to make a rash decision. You know, I'm not saying they will this year, but what I'm saying is, you know, in the future, because for me, he's a fantastic manager, and you know, look where he's taken the club so far.
Yeah.
Well, fellas,
I'm the same. I'm playing that devil's advocate there, because I'm the same. I think he's done a terrific job at Newcastle, but I know, you know, when if they start to put the money in, they'll want a guaranteed return every year on year. You know what owners are like, and we know how quick they want things to change around.
Need to rein the horses in on this one, because we're almost out of time, and we've got to have a chat with Ian Murta, who joins us now. He's on after this show finishes, 7 till 8, black, white and red all over. Ian.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
Hello, mate.
Listen, it's a funny old week, isn't it? I thought we would be talking about the downs of Newcastle United and Middlesbrough, and the ups of Sunderland, and, you know, this has been a week. Remember last week we all predicted Sunderland would lose against West Brom, and they've had two terrific results. Sunderland
some
fans,
of us didn't.
Some of us didn't. Fair play. And we thought Sunderland fans would be on a high, but, you know, and there would have been if this show had been on 24 hours ago. But we've got the Michael Beale announced. Well, it hadn't been formally announced, but I sense Sunderland fans are pretty underwhelmed if he is going to be the number one manager.
I agree.
And of course, the other news that has a lot of Sunderland fans up in arms isn't so much the fact that 6,000 Newcastle fans will be at the Weir Tyne derby in the new year, but the fact that a significant chunk of some of Sunderland's loyalist fans will be kicked out of their own seats that they've had to sit through many, many miserable years to watch the team in the third tier. And so, you know, I can understand that. It's strange. It just points to how fortunes can change so quickly in football. Anyway, I'll tell you about my guests. My first guest is, I think he was at Sunderland just before yourselves, Lee and Darren, Lee Howie. One of the
I was with Big Lee.
He was there.
I was there with Big Lee.
He was there, was he? Yeah, I think
yeah.
Right, and I mean, he's a lovely lad to talk to, and I'm talking about the book he wrote 5 years ago, tremendous, called Massively Violent and Distinctly Average. And we talk
That's
about
that.
That's about right. I'll tell him that. And my second guest, my second guest, listen, it's a bit cold out there. So I decided to set up for warmer climes. And I'm interviewing Steve Brenner, who was the Northeast man for the Sun for many years. He now lives in Miami, but, it's a big but, he is more well-informed than most of the working journalists in the Northeast right now. He watches all the Northeast, even though he's from London, he watches all the matches. He keeps in touch with social media. He looks at the Chronicle, the Sunderland Echo, the Gazette, etc., and the national papers. So he's keeping watchful eyes. So I'll be very interested in his observations and what's been happening in the region.
Did you fly over there for that interview, eh?
I wish.
What, Dave wouldn't give you the budget
on my
for
budget? Come on. Brilliant stuff. Ian joins us immediately after the Three Legends finish with Black and White and Red All Over at 7 o'clock. So, fellas, let's look to what's in hand. We've got 5 minutes. What's coming up then? So, we were talking Newcastle. Let's start with them. Hey, Clark, it's a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday afternoon. That's a bit unusual, isn't it? Newcastle, Fulham, what you're expecting?
You're right there. There's not many of those knocking about now, Dave, but we'll take that. As I said, in-form Fulham team. Hello, I'd expect us to come back and get a victory. So I'm going for 3 points for Newcastle.
Easy. That's very straightforward.
I would agree. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park because Fulham are on a good run. But I do expect Newcastle, especially at St James's, to get the 3 points. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
Daz?
I'm going 2-0 Newcastle, mate. I think there's a bit of bounce back ability in that.
Love the word.
Bounce back ability, what a word.
It's a football word, isn't it? Only ever would be used in football.
Yeah.
I just Googled it.
I wouldn't be able to spell it to Google it, I'm telling you. So things looking rosy for Newcastle then. Next on my list, Bristol City versus Sunderland.
I think dodgy for England's going to be shouting from the rooftops from the Stadium of Light at 5 o'clock tomorrow. They're going to get his third win on the bounce. I'm going to go 2-0 Sunderland.
Ooh.
I'm going to...
They did Boro, Higgy.
Yeah, they did, yeah. They scored a few goals as well. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I'm going to go 2-1 win Sunderland because Bristol have a decent record at the back but are struggling to score.
These are all short and sharp.
2-1 Sunderland.
2-1
now
Sunderland.
For the big one.
The big one. Abertawe, Swansea. It's a bit of Welsh creeping in there.
I'm going to go for a 0-0. I think I'm going to try and...
But don't do 0-0s, Clarky, man.
I know, mate, but I'm just thinking that they're just going to have to try and do something to just stop this run of defeat. So I think they're going to go there with a game plan. I know the way Mickey will want to play with the ball, but without the ball, trying to get a strong defensive performance, and then they can look to build on there. They've got a big cup tie in the midweek as well.
I'd take a point, I'll be honest.
Would you, Dave?
I would. I mean, obviously I want more, but now I don't see where the next point's coming from. That's the problem. And you've got Port Vale looming on the horizon. I just think we need something, some confidence or something from somewhere to go into that game, because that's potentially a massive banana skin.
Yeah, but it's also a massive opportunity.
Of course
to get yourself into the semi-finals.
And if we were in a winning run,
because the favourites,
I would be massively confident. But
I think they're going to win tomorrow, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet, but I think they might put a couple of chances away that they create. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
Daz, baby? Swansea Borough.
I agree. I think it's going to change, mate. I think Middlesbrough are going to go down there. I think they're going to be solid. I think they're going to come away with a 1-0 win.
Oh, they're under the clean sheet. 2 lads have gone for clean sheets there.
And 2 non-Borough lads going for clean sheets, Higgy.
Yeah,
what do you know?
There you go.
You heard it here.
It's because they haven't seen them, isn't it? That's why they've gone for clean sheets.
Out of those 3 then, which one do you think, or are any of them nailed on certainties?
Boro are nailed on certainty. 2-1.
Oh, good lad. I like the cut of your cloth.
Up the Boro.
I'm going for them all, mate. I'm going for a decent weekend.
Yeah.
All of them.
Why not?
Cracking.
Good luck, everyone.
And Clarky, anything for you there nailed on?
Newcastle to win.
I thought you were going to say you lads getting some sherbets over the weekend, but there you go.
I'm going to go and have some local cuisine in Swansea.
Good man.
So that means I'll be in a Chinese.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We're done and dusted, fellas. Magnificent. We'll catch you next week.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
See you later.
Cheers.
Banter at its best across the Northeast. It's the Three Legends.
The Tune, the Red and the Cat.